So LSU started off spring football today, day one of spring, and I know that a lot of you are anticipating what it would look like. Now, before we get rolling, let's get to this. What we're going to talk about today is going to change up because the guys that were starting, the guys that were in there, the guys that were rotating in day one, helmets, no pads, this is going to look a lot different. My warning to everybody is when we talk about day one of spring football, nothing is locked in. None of these situations are locked in. A lot of guys are going to be rotating, moving around, but this is how it went today. Let's start along the offensive line. Was very curious. So, look, Josh Thompson is not currently with the team. He is going to be graduating from what I understand, and then in a couple of weeks will make his way into spring football with LSU. But today's starting offensive line looked as such from left to right. Tyree Adams started left tackle. Paul Mabinga started at left guard. DJ Chester started at center, and Braylon Moore backed him up. Bo Bordelon started at right guard, and Weston Davis started at right tackle. Stop right there. That is not going to be your starting offensive line. I guarantee you in a week and a half, 2 weeks, that position is going to look a lot different. When you have a lot of transfers that come in here, I don't think that any coaches necessarily are going to come in here and just start these transfers over these guys that have been here. It's kind of an unwritten rule. I do think it's interesting that Mabinga was at left guard and Chester was at center. I mean, BrianKelly did tell Wilson Alexander that that Braylon Moore would be at center and Chester would move to guard. So that is interesting. Again, this is not going to be the rotation. This is not going to be who is starting. You got a long way to go in that. But that was your starting rotation. Bo Bordelon did get pulled midway through some of these drills and some of these teamwork stuff. Bordelon got pulled for Cohen Eccles. I don't know what you do with Bo Bordelon. He is not an SEC starter, unfortunately. Utilize him in different ways. Make him a fullback or whatever you want to do in these goal line situations. Do what you got to do. My man's not going to be starting at right guard. For me, I would really like to see what Josh Thompson does and what he looks like when he comes in. I think at the current moment, what you may see and what you could see is, and what I anticipate of being seen, is that Braylon Moore comes in and starts at center, and DJ Chester, for the current moment, starts at right guard. That interior offensive line is going to have a lot of shuffles. I do think that you have some shuffling that will go on at right tackle. Weston Davis did not have a fantastic day either. So you got a lot of rotation in there. It's not settled. It's day one, but that's where it went. Weston Davis, I think that for what it's worth, from what I understand, they were on him all day long. They are trying to get him ready for SEC play. I do hope that if Weston Davis or anybody in Weston Davis's camp listens to this, he's not ready yet. They're trying to get him there. So I am intrigued that Weston Davis did start at right tackle. We did not see that in the bowl game, but he was the guy that started right tackle. He's got to get with it. He's got to get going. He's got to get moving here. But that was your starting offensive line. All right, let's move over. Defensive line from left to right. We'll go from left to right when we make these starting projections. Jamari Butler started at the left defensive end. Don McKinley was at defensive tackle along with Ahmad Bro. Patrick Payton was at the other end. Both guys were standing up. What do I mean by that? You had two ends that were standing up. Their hands were not in the dirt. That rotation piece is also going to be moved around. I do think it's interesting that Jamari Butler started at one edge. We told you on Thursday, if you were here, Jamari Butler's going to be at one of those edge pieces. He is. He will play more of a role of Savion Jones. And when you get in certain situations, he will get his hand in the dirt. So that was your starting defensive line right there. Pyburn would come in different situations depending on what they were doing. Charles Ross, the freshman, along with Wes Weeks and Donovan Keys, were the rotations at the linebacker spot. So that was your three. At safety, you had Javian Toviano and Tamarcus Coley. The three, listen to this now, the three corners that were rotating in was Ashton Stamps started off along with DJ Pickett and Mansour Delane. A lot of rotation in that corner room, but Stamps, DJ, and Delane were the three corners. Star is going to be interesting. Star is very much going to be interesting. Again, they're not settled there. There will be a lot of rotation, but those were your starting three DBs. At receiver, you had Aaron Anderson along with Chris Hilton and Xavion Thomas. Aaron Anderson was in the slot. Xavion Thomas and Chris Hilton were out wide. Nick Anderson had a brace on his knee and still looked to be a little bit hurt, but was out there moving around. Barian Brown did play the slot, also moved over to X, and had an amazing catch for a touchdown today thrown by MVB. So they are giving Anderson, Hilton, and Xavion, the three guys that were here, they are giving them the starting crack at this. Nick Anderson's health is something that we need to monitor. Barry and Brown did look good with the twos, but a fade route today and some 7-on-7 stuff. Barry and Brown coming down with it in the end zone, and a really good throw by Michael Van Buren. Another person that was a little limped up today and didn't move around a lot was Donovan Green, the tight end. But at tight end, Trey'Dez Green did lead it off, and Bauer Sharp would rotate in with him in certain situations and packages that they would put in. In 7-on-7, you had a touchdown by Barry and Brown. You had some drops in the end zone. Jakeem Jackson had an interception on Garrett in the red zone in the first start of 7-on-7. But all in all, I thought from what I have gathered was a good day. Chris Hilton, for what it's worth, caught a fade route from Garrett Nussmeier in the back of the end zone for a touchdown. So day one, a lot of things rolling around. We will be out there on Wednesday. We were not out there today, but I made some phone calls. You can take what we just told you to the bank. Jakeem Jackson, the DB from Florida, the transfer, is going to be somebody that's very interesting here as well. From what I understand, he had a fantastic day. So can he make some moves here as well? So that was your day one of camp. There was some notes that we gathered here as well. It will be interesting. Your offensive line's not remotely close to being settled. Your defense is not close to being settled. I do find it interesting with a Whit Weeks and Harold Perkins-esque and those guys being out, how you did things in your DB room. I don't like Javian Toviano at free safety. For what it's worth, I don't like it. I don't mind Tamarcus Coley coming down on the slot if you need to, along with Stamps, along with Delane, and along with DJ Pickett, who did not come down the slot, but he played the other boundary. It's going to be interesting to see how they do this during spring. Very interesting. This Jackson kid had a big day. Big day one. Had a really good pick on Nuss in the red zone. Was playing the really good coverage. And listen, you want to go after a new guy, see what he's got. See what you got. Fine by me. Fine by me. That's going to happen. So that is your day one wrap up here as we get through football. I'll get a couple questions if we have some here before.